Hey folks, welcome back to the month of metabolic stability. So awesome to be here. You can see we have our hay bale runway. We'll talk about that later. There's some method to the madness. And we're back for the 7th month of this year and going on almost our 5th year of doing this of metabolic stability. And what the theme this month is functional training and function with your training, which is basically the overriding principle, perform better, right? It's right in the title. It's right in the 3-day summits. We're right in the middle of the summit season right now. And so hopefully there's a lot of you out there getting good information and maybe seeing some of this stuff. But we're going to get right down to business here. We're going to talk about functional training. I'm excited to share my 2 drills with you this month. We're switching up a bit. Josh is actually going to do the non-ultimate sandbag drills this month, and I'm going to do all ultimate sandbag drills. So hopefully you like the little bit of change up there. But we're going to talk about, in this front-loaded portion of the video, in the intro, about functional training, how we can really mimic function when we use the right tools. One of the lexicon out there that's still really popular, unfortunately, is weight's just weight. And as you can see here, we've got a strength size ultimate sandbag sitting next to a hay bale. Now this ultimate sandbag is about 28 inches long, if I remember my dimensions correctly. And this hay bale is obviously much bigger in dimension. The sandbag, it's got a few handles, but just when we're talking load, like that's probably a 60-65 pound sandbag. This hay bale, let me adjust this strain real quick so I don't bust it. That would be kind of embarrassing on screen. Is maybe 40 pounds, but we can see the dimension, which is a really common term that we use in DVRT, is significantly different. Now obviously that's one piece to another, and dimension matters because it makes it awkward. I could easily pick up 45 pounds. Anybody that trains a little bit could pick up 45 pounds with one hand, but the dimension of this bell that's very big, you can see if you want a comparison lengthwise, it's almost the same length. This bell's probably 32-36 inches, but its depth and width are much different. This ultimate sandbag in scope of things is a much more compact weight. But when we move down function, we've got a bale here and here and here. You can see it kind of is our method to our madness with our runway of bales. Like, that's about the same weight. And if you're making bales properly, they're going to be about the same weight. But we can move down here and easily find ourselves a 100-pound bale. So in preparation standpoints and training standpoints, we need to be able to handle dimension, yes, and we need to understand how dimension works in many different scopes and frames. I'm going to try to show you some side-by-side-ish comparisons. It's not going to be direct side-by-side, but it's going to be some side-by-side comparison of some of the really useful functional movements, for lack of a better word, that we do with the sandbag, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to parallel them with a hay bale so you can kind of see what they look like. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this month's training. Hopefully you're enjoying the 3-day functional training summits that are going on right now. I know 2 of them wrapped up and there's 2 more to come. So if you haven't got yourself to one of those summits, be sure to do that. And hopefully you enjoy metabolic stability for this month, the 7th month of 2017. Talk to you on the other side. Hey folks, Troy Anderson here, back with your, or at least my 2 metabolic stability drills of 2017 July. And we're going to start off with one that I kind of named. It's not the reason I start off with, but we're talking about function, and that's kind of the theme of this month. And so the basic drill is called shucking. It's a lateral moving or lateral sling system component, if you will. And basically, it's all about moving something lateral safely that doesn't require any elevation change with the implement itself. So essentially, all we're going to do is we're going to set up here, and we're just going to get a nice wide stance, and we're just going to decelerate here and catch. So we're just moving left to right. So makes kind of sense, right? So how might we move this, right? Let's take a look at a bell. If I'm going to move this bell, and there's a bell about right here, hopefully you can see it, I'm going to pick this bell up and I'm going to step over and move it. And then maybe another bell comes down the line to me and I pick it up and I add another one. So this would be kind of like a fire bucket line, if you will. But that's shifting that down. So I'm taking bells and I'm stepping and I'm shifting. And I'm picking up a bell and I'm stepping and shifting. So it's not the full version, which you could easily do, which brings us to the point that you could easily make this a one-sided drill, right? Where you're coming and you're just here and boom, here and boom, right? Not moving, that's the progression model. And then we're moving back to center, So kind of a lateral stepping piece, and then the shucking piece, which is stationary, but we're moving that full spectrum of angles. So that's one version, the shucking, the ultimate sandbag shucking drill. I think it's a fantastic drill that we should all at least consider, right? I'm gonna prep you for my second drill. So my second drill is moving, and I've seen some really bad versions of this lately. The critical part here, and hopefully you can see it, is my footwork. And it's a rotational clean. So boom, and to that position there, right? Very simple drill. Bag will be here. I'm gonna come to this position. So it's basically like a slight 90-degree pivot. So if we're here, we're gonna set the bag up as such, right? We wanna get the bag, maybe a rotational clean is gonna require change of elevation, but maybe our load's coming from a different position, right? So if we're here, boom, as such, so this is what it might look like, boom, and then I'm here, right? If I'm here, maybe my load is coming from the side, and I'm here, and I load, right? Makes sense? So it's real critical, the footwork, because if I just bend over and do this, we know from history that things that look like this, flex and rotate, I just automatically do the footwork, flex and rotate is a recipe for a really bad day, and we don't want that. So again, if I'm receiving functional training things, daily life, boom, here I do my footwork, clean, boom, it works awesome. So how does it look with a little more dimension? And maybe as such. So maybe I'm walking along and I'm boom, and I'm loading bales in the back of the pickup. That's what we're gonna mimic here, right? So I got my footwork, I've loaded it up. Hopefully I need a little more space there. Boom, as such. One movement, right? So boom, and I can accelerate through that movement and deliver the bale with some velocity. So there you have it. Hopefully this sheds a little bit of light on things, on why we do what we do. And this is our base premise. Just like functional training is the kind of cornerstone of Perform Better, this kind of stuff and getting the real world carryover, whether it's Armstrong type stuff or anything else, whether it's kids, luggage, right? Whatever it may be, moving a kid this way. I'm sure all the parents out there have done that. Have taken a kid, we've reached here and we've put them over here, right? Whatever they're getting into. So hopefully you get that. Hopefully you enjoy the change of scenery, maybe a little bit of change of camber angle, and have a great summer and a wonderful full day.
Show you how DVRT is bigger than just the Ultimate Sandbag. The Ultimate Sandbags are an incredible tool, but the system itself is the most powerful thing. In the fact that whenever you use any tool, you can use the DVRT system, and I wanted to show it with a great tool that we obviously believe in kettlebells. So one of the things we want to talk about is body position, load position with something like a clean. Now, I love kettlebell cleans because it's a shorter range of motion, so it's easier for people to learn how to absorb force and create force than, let's say, a swing. Kettlebell cleans often don't get the credit they deserve because they don't look as sexy and people think of barbells and even Ultimate Sandbags, but kettlebells can have their own right. And so let's go over two different ways we look at kettlebell cleans. One is just by actually going from a dead stop as a great way to teach a kettlebell clean, because we don't have to worry about the huge eccentric forces that challenge our balance and stability and strength. So we can also just learn how to create force from a dead stop right in that position. So learning from this position can be very valuable in teaching people how to produce and absorb force at the same time. In essence, I got my standing plank. This is going to be, as strength coach Troy Anderson says, a linchpin exercise. Basically open the door for me to do a lot of different movements just from this position. It also teaches me from going to dead stop how to absorb weight, because I have to think about grabbing the ground with my feet, following the weight back down by leading with my hips. My elbows stay close and I come back down. All right? What about that person that keeps banging their wrist though? Well, we can do a two-hand clean. So something that people don't use enough of, and why people abandon the cleans, is they just don't use this two-hand clean. People call it cheat clean, but I think that's a bad name because people feel like they're cheating. But it's a two-hand clean. So if I'm bringing the bell on my right side, right hand, left hand over the top, It takes away some of the fear or the fact that when people feel a weight heavy in their hands, they want to pull their arm. I can grab on the weight, push to my feet again, elbow stays close. That's a relatively easy exercise for people to learn. So let's get into the DVRT side. Well, we can clean from different body positions. We can clean from different angles and positions. So I don't like doing a lot of double kettlebell work because it takes me out to a wider position, and often people even more exaggerate, where they start losing that athletic stance. So I'd rather put them in what we call a sprinter stance. A sprinter stance is basically a heel-toe relationship. I want the back heel elevated so that I can maintain neutral pelvis position. So if I've mastered one arm cleans, even if I feel comfortable with double cleans, I want to go use that sprinter stance. And whenever I go change body position, I need more stability. So I'm going to use double kettlebells, which may seem counterintuitive because of the extra load, but it'll help me actually balance out and resist rotation better. So once I set up, I'm going to stay in a more vertical shin position, create that tension, and create right on up. Back down and up. I don't even have to come down the ground. These are a little bit smaller bells. So again, you see me trying to find that balance point, especially on the way down. But what's most important is I'm in that athletic stance. I'm learning how to use lat, core, and hips together. Once I've sort of built up that stability pattern and some strength, I can go to a offset position where if I'm going to do a sprinter stance and single elbow kettlebell, I'm going to be single arm opposite of my lead leg. So I come down, I can actually start a little bit outside, right up, come back down. So still vertical shin, up, back down, okay? When we have that pattern in, that's really hard to work on resisting rotation as you're producing force up, which is important because as I'm walking or running, it's exactly what I have to do. Push down, but resist lateral motion. So then I can eventually add a little bit of a step. So this starts to build more daily activity type of motions, where I walk, I run, I do more powerful activities. And the clean is so good because it gives me that definitive endpoint. Then I have time to react and absorb the acceleration back down. Clean variations that you can instantly use. It really opens up your mind to what kettlebells can be and shares you with how you can use the DVRT system to literally any tool.